All right, we are now recording. Let me start out by saying that this video needs to be used for training purposes only, that we will not be sharing any real students' data. This is fake data from a sandbox server. Fake students, fake information, and any likeness to any real student is purely coincidental. So welcome. We are going to talk today about no-shows and summer withdrawals and making sure that you have plenty of time to double check all of your data to ensure that you have processed out all of your withdrawals and no-shows in preparation for, we are now less than 2 months away from our fall snapshot. We know that that fall snapshot that we all call the 20-day report is the big report that it really does a lot of things for us. It is what sets your ADM counts, which is where your funding comes from for your teacher units and such for the next school year. This is a reclassification year for AHSAA, so making sure that your numbers are correct for those students so that your classification, everybody wants to know where we're going to land in football, where we're going to land in basketball, things like that. So all of this impacts what this data is. Also, we really have to make sure that we get these no-shows taken care of prior to that fall snapshot, because if something happens and little Stacy Royster is still in your, CIS as an active student, and you decide in November that you're going to, withdraw them out, that she was never here, you're going to get a hard error on your end of year report stating that you had a student enrolled for the fall snapshot that you don't have in the 9-month snapshot, which means you got funded for a kid that you really didn't have. And we want to avoid that hard error at all costs, because if you have them at the end of the year, it's going to get sent to you, it's going to get sent to your superintendent over and over again, and it's one you cannot resolve, because once this fall snapshot is in place, you are locked. So let's talk about summer withdrawals and no-shows. Now, when we use the word no-show and we use the word summer withdrawals, when we talk about it in tech terms, it can mean the same thing. It all depends on what code you are using to remove the student as an active student as to what you're actually going to put inside of PowerSchool. So what is a summer withdrawal? A summer withdrawal is when a student comes to you sometime between the end of the previous school year and the start of the next school year and informs you that they are no longer going to be returning to your school and that they are going to be going somewhere else, and they tell you where. So you have communicated with someone and you know where they are going. When that happens, you want to process that with a July withdrawal date. So I'm going to come in here and pick a kid. I'm just going to go randomly grab one of my students. And we're going to pretend that Miss Kathy, who I'm checking on here, is a student who was informed that is going to another institution this summer, whether it be a private school, a home school, another school in the state, a school out of country, a school in another, anything. We would go to their enrollment record and we would process a transfer out of school. So because I know this student is going somewhere, I won't, not just won't, I need them to be processed in July. Now, I get that school started in August for most all of us. For example, in my academic year here in my pilot server, we started August 4th. I don't want to use the August 4th date, even though that's my first day of school, to transfer this student out. Now, a lot of people might ask, Stacy, why? They didn't come on the first day, so that's the date I want to enroll them, because that's when our school year starts. Well, but what if Kathy here, who is leaving my school, is going to another school district, and that school district actually starts August 1st? So they start before you do. If you use the enrollment date of your start school year, it could impact and overlap where they are going in another district. So when we know they are leaving, to avoid all of the overlap in enrollments that we all hate to get those error messages on, you want to use a July withdrawal date so we get ahead of everybody's enrollment dates for the upcoming school year. Most districts set a July 1 withdrawal date, which is perfectly fine. Literally use any date in July as long as it's way ahead of all the districts when they start. So if I know Kathy has already come to me, her parents have come and said, hey, we're leaving, we're going to a neighboring school district, we moved. No problem. I'm going to come in here, I'm going to put in that 7/1/2025 date. I'm going to use the appropriate withdrawal code. So what are my withdrawal codes for all of my summer withdrawals? Well, where are they going? Because where they're going is going to dictate which one of these codes you're going to use. And if you're ever curious at what the definitions of these codes are and when they are appropriate to use, there is actually a list of our exit codes and their guidance. So this will tell you when you choose transfer in state private versus, transfer in system to these. So if you have any questions on these definitions of all these codes, you can also always reference this document here, which is a part of our Alabama State Department of Education Data Code Manual. I'm going to put this link in the chat in case you're new and have never seen this before. It's a very handy link to have when you're wanting to know definitions of any of the codes we use inside of PowerSchool. So let's just say Kathy's going to a neighboring district. So in that case, I'm going to use transfer in-state public school. Okay, transfer in-state public school. Now this is very important. These transfer codes are super important, especially on my high school students, where it can impact your cohort. Okay, if we're looking at our cohort and I choose transfer in-state public school, then when Kathy comes out in CIS, she's not automatically going to come out in cohort. Another school district in the state of Alabama has to pick Kathy up in order for her to move from my cohort to another district's cohort. It has to see that transfer made. So it's important that districts follow up with students who say they are moving to another school to ensure they do, or else when you go to verify your cohort portals, you're going to say, hey, I withdrew Kathy out, but she's still in my cohort. Why? So you don't ever just want to say, well, I've withdrawn them and I'm done. Now, there are some codes where it does move them because we don't have that process to see where they go next. So, for example, if Kathy's saying, I'm going to a private schools aren't connected to the state and CIS, so we don't see that movement. Those automatically come out of cohort when you do those withdrawals. So it's very important that you use the right code. And if you know where a person is going in the summer, you do not want to use the NS1 code, which is our non-return in fall. I just passed it. My eyes are getting old on me, y'all. Where's my NS1 code? There it is, right here. I don't use that code if I know where they are going. There's many times that we have seen in records where a person will be withdrawn out. They will use the non-return in fall code and go transferred to XYZ district. If you know in a comment where they go, then this is not the code you should ever use. You want to make sure you use the correct code so that they go the way that they need to inside of cohort and everything else. Now, when you know where they're going, you do want to put this information in for your documentation and tracking purposes. So, for example, did the withdrawal get signed by a guardian? Well, if you have a form that you like to keep up with that parents fill out, you can absolutely, this is kind of for your knowledge right here. Check that box. Now, a lot of times we'll get questions up here on, do the parents have to fill out a withdrawal form in order for you to withdraw them out of the CIS? No, they do not. And you don't want to use that as a barrier to not withdraw a student out of the CIS that hangs up an enrollment when that other district has notified you they're sitting there and in their classes. So don't let that be a barrier to you finishing your withdrawal. Also, there's a records request. There's a checkbox here for you to denote, has the incoming district requested records? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. We know that we have that issue sometimes with districts, especially now that we transfer data across the state. So this is kind of for your record keeping purposes. Where are they going? So if I know that they're going, let's just say, to Alabaster and they're going to Thompson High School, it fills out that information for you. And we do have enterprise reports that you can run that will give you all of this information. So if you wanted to know, hey, I want to look at all of my students who've transferred to state, where are they going? You can run those reports and see where your students end up. Someone just asked in chat, what if they say they're transferring, the parent gives a location, but then they never enroll? That's where you've got to kind of put your detective skills on, and why I made the comment about you don't want to just stop at a transfer in state public school. You want to search that state locator and see, did they enroll, or get some kind of documentation. You can look in AIM under student data. You can look at the student's history to see if they actually have another enrollment record. If they don't, then you might want to reach back out to that parent and say, hey, Miss Davis, I know you said that Kathy was going to go to Thompson High School, but that I'm showing that they do not have an enrollment in Thompson. Can you tell me where you went? because when it comes to Alabama attendance code, you are responsible for that student until that student has legitimately moved to another district and started an enrollment, or private school or homeschool or something. You have to show that they've gone to another educational institution of some type. They will not remove off your cohort. So you want to make sure that your attendance officers are looking into this, that your registrars are looking into this, so that you can kind of have your checks and balances to know that these kids did make these moves. Because yes, there are times where parents will be untruthful and tell you they're going somewhere and then they don't. And if you don't keep up tracking that, it can hurt you in the long run with the other collections that we do. So in this case where I do know where Kathy is going, I'm going to process this now. Because I've done, a few days, this is not the first day of school as I should be doing this. I need to delete some attendance, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Chastity, I'll show some of those enterprise reports here in just a little bit. Confirm that submission. No, Heather, Power School will not be able to show the new school in the enrollment history, because the enrollment history is showing what's over in your district. Once they move to that other district, that enrollment is in that district. However, and I can't show it here because I don't have a sandbox for AIM. If you go to student data in AIM, you can see the enrollment history to see that next jump that a student makes into another district to confirm that they have made that enrollment. Okay, so I now have Kathy Davis is now withdrawn. And if I were to go and search for her, I would have to use that /. And I'm going to go find, there's Kathy right there. And I want to look at her enrollment record. So if I go to her school enrollment record, into enrollment history, here is what I see. I see an exit date of 7/1 with a withdrawn in state to another public school. And again, there right there is my information. Now, why did this entry comment right here say retain? Well, because when I did end of year rollover, this student was retained in my district. Okay, so that just copied that comment over. Now, I have a problem on this page, and this is where a lot of people forget that there is a secondary step to performing a summer withdrawal. Look at my entry date. Every enrollment record inside of PowerSchool has an entry date and an exit date. When you are performing a summer withdrawal or a no-show, we'll talk about those in just a second, those two dates must match, because realistically, how does this make sense? You're saying that Kathy started school with me on August 4th, but left on July 1st. That can't happen. This is going to pop up as an error in about 6 different places inside of Power School if this does not get corrected. So once you process out that transfer for your summer record, you then have to pop right back into that enrollment history, click on that entry date, and update that entry date to also be the same date that you process that withdrawal. So I want to show that this is a 0-day enrollment. I want those enrollments to match to show there were no days of enrollment during the 25-26 academic year for this student. That's how I process that summer withdrawal. So I'm going to now save. And now I have an enrollment record looking as it should. And Kara, I will show that in just one second, how to fix those that come from other districts. Now, how many of you are sitting there going, uh-oh, I don't think I did that on my summer withdrawals, or you don't remember? And you're like, I probably processed 100 withdrawals, and now I have to see who I messed the dates up on and who I didn't. Well, I've got a report that will show them all to you at one time and even let them fix it all on one screen for you. So hold on, I'm going to make it better. But now let's talk about the no-shows, because summer withdrawals are when a parent, somebody tells you the kid's going somewhere, so you have an exit code to use. So what's a no-show? What's the state definition of a no-show? So a no-show is on the first day of school, you have all these rosters of kids that you are expecting to show up on day one, okay? Because you've already taken out everybody that you knew was going somewhere else. You've processed them as a summer withdrawal. So when I look at my school right here, we're going to pretend that tomorrow's my first day of school, or you could say that the first day of school is already passed. That's okay. These are all the kids that I would expect to be here. Well, if on day one, your teachers go through and they take roll and these 1,511 kids don't show up, those who don't show up do not yet have an enrollment into your school. Enrollment is defined as when those students start attending classes. Okay? Does everybody understand that? Enrollment is defined as when they come and start attending classes. So if I have a student who does not show up on day one, we need to no-show them. They're not enrolled for that year. Now, we know that every year we no-show a few hundred kids. And 2 or 3 days later, half of those kids show right back up. Okay, we don't want attendance records on those. You don't want 3 days of absences because it was day 4 of school that little Johnny decides to actually start coming to school. No, that's when their enrollment record for the 25-26 year starts, the first day they start coming. You don't want to contribute to your chronic absenteeism in the beginning. Enrollment starts when they start attending. And so if we have a student that doesn't show up, so I'm going to go pick me a student here. If it's the first day of school, or first day of school was last week and this kid never showed up to school, the teachers came to you and said, hey, Charquez was never in class and we never heard from a parent, then we need to no-show them. What's a no-show? It's a transfer out of school. So I'm going to do the exact same thing I did to Kathy a little while ago. I'm going to come here to transfer out of school. And what date am I going to use? Well, this time I'm not going to use a July date because I don't know where they went. I'm actually going to use that first day of school, and I don't know where they went, so I'm going to find my NS1 code. It's a kid that didn't show up. I've not heard hide nor hair from them, from a parent, from a guardian, from anyone. No other school has contacted me to say, hey, Charquez Bell is starting with me. Can you make sure to release all the records so that I can withdraw them in without being provisional? I got bupkis here. So I'm going to, again, delete that attendance. Submit this. I'm going to go back. I'm going to look at his enrollment record. Because where are we at? We are in a transferred out status, so he's now inactive. It shows that exit date being the same as my entry date. Again, I got a 0 date enrollment, so the dates match, which is good. I got an NS1. Here again is where we do not stop. You do not want any student left in a no-show status. No-show students will appear on your dropout report for your school each year in state reporting. So if you have a student that you have coded as an NS1, and I know we can't do this the first day of school. We are all like in the middle of fire of new kids, old kids, this kid, schedules, and everything. I get that. But now that we're here at the end of August, now is the time where you need to go run some reports, and I'll show how we do all these reports, on your NS1s. You need to know what all students are in your district as an NS1, and we need to start calling parents because we need to find out where they went. Are they homeschooling them? Did they send them to a private school? Did they move out of country? Did they move out of state? Did another district pick them up and I just never went and coded it? You want to find and locate, and you want to come back into these enrollment records and adjust these withdrawal codes to be an accurate reflection of what happened to them. An NS1 is a kid that we cannot find. You want your attendance officers, you want registrars, you want everybody trying to make contact with someone who can tell you about this. Now, people ask, like, Dorothy, I appreciate that question. What do I do about a no-show who I can't locate and may have been deported? If you can get confirmation that they were, that's a transfer out of country, and you would want to update that withdrawal code. You would need to get something from somebody denoting that. And we have sometimes that families will move back, and you'll want to update that. We have times where they'll end up being homeschooled. You'll want to know that so that you can denote that and get these correct withdrawal codes on your students. Now, how many of you feel that you have found all of your no-shows? How many of you feel you have located them all? How many of you have looked through all of your students to ensure that you don't have a student who has slipped through the cracks of being marked as a no-show? For example, can everybody in here guarantee me that you don't have any student enrolled who has not yet shown up to school? Like, how would you know about those students? How many of you have checked your list of students who don't have a schedule? Because think about it. How are you alerted about a no-show student? So remember, these aren't our summer withdrawals. These aren't the kids who we've been told something from a parent. How are you identifying your no-shows? They're on a roster. Your teachers take attendance and your teachers say, hey, these kids did not show up for school. Is that what we're doing? Yep. That's what most of them is, the teachers. So who's telling you about the no-shows that were never put in a schedule? Who's telling you about those? So there's a whole subset of no-shows that you possibly have that are sitting in your server as active students that just don't have a schedule attached, so nobody is visually laying eyes on the kids in the data to let you know, hey, this student has never shown up to school. How do you find them? Okay, let's go first and find our missing no-show students. And someone just said, I emailed my teachers and asked, is there anyone they're not seeing? Which the only people they can check for are the kids they have on a roster. So what about kids who are not on a roster? So what I want you to do is I want you to go into your data and reporting. You're going to go to reports. You're going to go to system reports. Now, I talk about these two reports I'm about to show you a lot in my end of year cleanup because you really need to check these two reports. I say check them every month. You're going to scroll down, scrolling, until you get this school enrollment and section enrollment audit. These two reports right here are your best friend at finding issues in school enrollments for possible hidden no-shows and errors on schedules just in general. So let's go into the school enrollment audit. Now, these are going to list you students with enrollment date overlaps or misalignments. So in other words, it's going to help you notify kids or find kids where the dates you have them enrolled do not match up with the dates you have for the start and end of school. Because maybe instead of putting an enrollment date of 8/4/2025, you accidentally put 9/4/2025 or 7/23/25 because you enrolled them sometime during the summer. That will help you find those. Go back to system reports. Come back down to the area I was just in. And let's look at the section enrollment audit. Scroll too far, too fast. If I click on the section enrollment audit, here is the one that I really want to look at. Students enrolled in school but are not in any classes. These are most likely no-shows that have not been accounted for. Now, if you have a student that you just enrolled today and you haven't had a chance to put them in a schedule, they're going to show up on your list. But let's think realistically, as it's August 26th and I started school on 8/4. So let's look here. I've got my little student, Mr. Eric Mackey, right here, that according to this started school on 8/18, but I don't have him in a schedule. Well, did he actually ever start school? So you would need to confirm with somebody in the school, did this student start? Look at this student down here. I've got Mr. Mike Tyson, who had an enrollment date of 8/4. Okay, well, this looks like to me it could most likely be a no-show. He's not on a roster because he's not in a class, so no teacher would have been able to tell me that, hey, Mike wasn't here for you to withdraw him out. So you would need to start checking and communicating, hey, does anybody know where Mike is? You would need to start calling parents to find out, because if they're not in a class, nobody's taking attendance, nobody's putting in grades, most likely Mike needs to be withdrawn out and is a no-show. He's already in ISS for biting someone's ear. This is why I love working with y'all. Yes, Greg, this can be run at district office so that you can see all of the schools at one time. That's one of the great things I do love about these. Some of these reports are going to be able to be ran anywhere and fine. So let's just show that from district office. Because maybe you're the district administrator and you want to pull in all of your registrars in the schools into a meeting so that we can double check these, because we've got to make sure they're all withdrawn out before we do that summer withdrawal, that fall report, excuse me. So if I go back into data and reporting, reports, system reports, okay, data reporting, reports, system reports. If anybody wants to grab that screenshot right there. And then you're going to scroll down to the enrollment area. It's called membership and enrollment. And it's this section, enrollment audit report right here. If I click on this, now remember, I'm checking it from an entire district level. Here it is. Students enrolled in school but not in any classes. Notice it separates it by school. I have really bad schedules in my whole sandbox, y'all, so please forgive me. Your data should not look like this. So at my middle school, here's all these kids. It's basically the whole school. I didn't schedule any of them. Whoop. If I scroll up, you saw it said another school name as I was flying by those. Alabama Intermediate School. So as I scroll through, you should have a very short list, but you would see there's another school. There's another school. I just saw it right there, Intermediate School 2. So of all my schools, I could see them all on this one school right here, on this one page right here. Now, here's a very important one to look at. The private school services only. Y'all, I'll be completely honest. You will find more of your missing no-shows in that school $49.99 because it's kids that you had enrolled providing services for, and maybe the parents have stopped services, and probably the special ed teacher has already went through and deprovisioned everything over in special programs to mark them out of the services, but nobody withdrew them out of the school if they're no longer accepting services, and you have to do that. So you want to make sure that you double check all of your spec ed services only kids. For our districts who have private schools in your area that you are providing services to, some of them have the speech, hearing, things like that. Those are also in this school $49.99. If they are no longer continuing services, you need to make sure to withdraw those students out. Only leave them enrolled if you're continuing services, and you'll have IEPs and everything written with them. So get with your special ed coordinators to double check all of your private school kids. This is also going to be your pre-K kids who rolled from last year inside of here. Okay, so you can see that report at district office. So you want to make sure you do the no-show. You want to make sure you do your summer withdrawal, and you want to check your dates. Now, remember how I said a while ago, when you do those summer withdrawals, how many of you think you might have dates that are mismatched because you didn't put that entry date back to the exit date? So are you ready to see how to see all of them on one screen? Okay. This one's from a plugin, and if you do not have this, all I need you to do is get your tech person to shoot me an email. I'll give them the file for the plugin. When you go to data and reporting, there's a set of PSCB reports. Now, some of you in districts pay for the development PSCB, and some of us just have the freebie PSCB. So you're going to have one of the two. But in the PSCB reports, there is a validation set of reports. So I'm looking at them right here. Okay. Invalid enrollment dates. That's the report right here is what you want to look at. When you click into that report, if you have any students where you didn't match that entry date back up, it will show it right here. For example, do you see right here my first student, Miss Rose Nunlin, right here? Nyland? Okay, everybody see Rose? Okay, look at her entry date, 8/4, so first day of school. Look at the exit date, 7/1, WA1. I processed Rose as a summer withdrawal with my July date like I was supposed to, but I was in such a hurry, I forgot to go back and do the entry date because somebody called and I answered the phone while I was in the middle of doing this. Well, guess what? Instead of having to go to Rose's record and do it, I can see all of the mismatches right here and update them all on this one screen. So I can type 7/1, 2025 right here. And look, it'll even show you ones from past school years that you might not have corrected when you did them. I can go through right here and change every one of these. That should have been 7/1/2025. This one should have been 7/1/2025. You can correct them all on this one screen right here and hit submit, and it will clear all of your errors on one page for you. We get it. There are going to be times where we forget to do something, but guys, this is what I love about PowerSchool is that they do have these pages where you can do cleanup really quickly on them. Okay? So where did we go to get that? We have, yep, Kelly, gonna walk back through it again. And notice, I just did that from district office. You can do it from the school level, or you can do it from district office level if you know that it needs to be cleaned up. So I went to data and reporting, and I went to PSCB reports. Now, some of you have PSCB and some of you have DEV, Dev PSCB. If you don't see either one of them, let me know, because this is a plugin that I can give you that will give you this report. And in the validation section down here, see my validation area? It's this one right here, invalid enrollment dates. Invalid enrollment dates. That's the report you want to go to that will tell you if you have processed the summer withdrawal and you forgot to update the entry date to match that exit date, and they both be July dates. Now, there's a second report on this screen that's also going to help you, because sometimes we enroll students during the summer. Like, how many of you got like an influx of new enrollments right at the end of July before we even started school? You know how when you start the enrollment screen, it pops that current date as the enrollment date, and sometimes we forget to update it to say the first day of school? This will go find any kids where we did that. So I'm going to go into the invalid entry dates, the one right here. So these are going to be your two best friends: invalid enrollment date, invalid entry date. I'm going to click on invalid entry date. And what does it give me? So this tells me it's a report of all students whose entry dates don't fall in your school year that you've set in PowerSchool. So my first day of school in PowerSchool is August 4th. My last day in PowerSchool is June 5th. Well, according to this, when I enrolled this student right here, it says I enrolled them on 7/31. How can a student be enrolled when school hasn't even started yet? So that was probably a typo on my end, because I probably enrolled them on July 31st and forgot to change the date to say the first day of school. No problem. All I have to do is come here, 8/4/2025, and update these. And in one screen, I've got those fixed. Okay? So that helps find issues with your enrollment records that you would want to make sure you have correct, because making sure that you have the right enrollment numbers are going to give you the right membership numbers, which are going to give you the right ADA, ADM numbers for all of the state reportings. So again, your reports that you want to run are your section enrollment audit under reports and system reports, the section enrollment audit. I just keep going right. And also on these reports, how many of y'all have favorite pages inside of PowerSchool? Does anybody favorite pages? You know my little star over here? You can favorite this page to remind yourself to come run them, because I would say you need to look at this report at least once a month. Your section enrollment and your school enrollment audit to let you know if you have mismatches in things. I would highly click that little page and add it so that you can quickly get back to it if you're like, where was that page Stacy told me that report was on? Highly recommend doing that. Now, here's one of the anomalies with our no-shows. How many of you get kids stuck in provisional enrollment that you need to withdraw out? Because maybe they were going to come to you, but then they don't come to you. I see lots of hands raised. So let's pop over here. Let me go back to the school. And let's go look at provisional enrollment, because If you have to no-show from provisional, you got a teeny tiny little bit of extra work to do. Okay? I'm going to go into school enrollment and go to my provisional enrollment screen. All right, so let's look at Mr. Mike Tyson right here. Okay? Remember Mike, he was the one that was supposed to have been enrolled on 8-4 and he never got put into a class. Well, I just found out he's never shown up. Well, what if I actually just found out that the parents decided, no, we're not going to come to Alabama High School. We're going to leave them in Baldwin at Foley High School. We're not going to move after all. So let's think about this logistically. I enrolled Mike Tyson. Baldwin had not withdrawn yet. Okay? So I get a provisional E99. Parents then let me know, hey, we're really not going to come. We're going to stay at Baldwin. Can I resolve this E99? Not if they're already enrolled somewhere else. But you need to withdraw them to show that they didn't come to you. The only option you're going to have is to actually no-show them from the provisional enrollment page, which we really never want to have to do. If you have the option, if Mike Tyson had been down here in one of these other E99 states, you really want to resolve them, roll them in as an enrollment, and then withdraw them out properly. If at all possible, resolve the provisional to pull them all the way in, and then process a withdrawal the way that it should be processed. However, if you're stuck in that catch-22 where you cannot because they've already enrolled somewhere else, then what you'll do is you'll come to this page and you will no-show from here. So notice with one button click it says done. Student is set to no-show. But I want to show you something because we have an issue with this. Let's go back to the main screen and let's pull Mike Tyson's record up. So remember, he's no-showed now, so I've got to use the / to find him. So here's Mike. Okay. Look at this record right here. Notice it says NS, NS. Now, in any of the codes that we have looked at before, have we ever mentioned just an NS code? We've mentioned an NS1, which is our non-return and fall. This is not an acceptable code to have in the state. This is what Core PowerSchool locks in when you do it. Also, I want you to notice this little word right here. Can y'all see my screen? It's real small. Do y'all see what that right there says? It says inactive. It says Mike Tyson is inactive. Now, let me pull a different kid. Remember Kathy that we withdrew at the very beginning when we showed the summer withdrawal? Let's pull her up. Let's go back and find Kathy Davis. Okay, here she is. Let's look at her enrollment record. I want you to look at her enrollment record. What do you see up there in her enrollment record? It says transferred out. Transferred out. This is what a state enrollment record should look like. It should say transferred out on a withdrawn student or a no-show student. This is how it knows that it's going to read correctly in AIM, that we're going to see movements in the state locator. This right here is a soft delete of a student record, which is not good. But sometimes your hands are tied and you have to no-show them from provisional. But once you do, you've got to fix this information. So what do you have to fix? Well, number one, you've got to fix this status right here. This field right here is known as the enrollment status. And in PowerSchool, enrollment statuses are a set of numbers. Active students are 0. So everybody who's enrolled with you and actively going have an enrollment status of 0. The students who are transferred out, like Kathy right here, that's a status of 2. Pre-registered, sometimes you enroll students in the summer and it gives them that pre-registered value, that's a -1. But this inactive is an enroll status of 1. I need to update that. I need it to be a 2. I need this kid to be transferred out, not inactive. So how do I do that? Well, I'm going to leave him right there. I'm going to go back to the main screen. These can be done through student field value updates. So I'm going to clear this selection, pull up Mr. Tyson, make him my student selection. See here, I've got here my current selection. You're going to go to group functions down to what I've already got selected, which is this change student field values. I'm going to click change student field values. I'm going to let it spin. I've been running a little slow today, but that's okay. The first field that I need to change is that enrollment status field. It is enroll underscore status. That field is currently a 1. I need to update it to a value of 2. I'm going to hit submit, and it's going to say, hey, are you sure you want to change it from a 1 to a 2? I'm going to say, yes, I do. So you must hit submit one more time, and it says it's completed. So now let's go back over here to Mike Tyson's page. Remember how it said inactive? Let's refresh this screen. Now what does it say? Transferred out. So you fix the enrollment status, which means I'm going to be able to see him and name. Now, my dates. Is this the right date? Like, should it have been 8-4, or do you need to make it a July date because you've got to overlap with Baldwin, who started on 8-3? If you need to adjust the dates, the entry and exit date, you also can do that through student field values. You can't do it through this record. Like, a lot of people try to click on that NS and they're like, oh, I'll just come in here. But notice this big blue thing. Updates are not allowed to a no-show student. You can sit there and try to type up stuff. It's not going to let you change anything at all. The only way to change stuff on this record is through that student field value update. So what if my entry and exit date needs to be back a July date? Because we're going to say the kid never came. Then I'm going to go, remember how I was on this screen when I finished the student field values? I'm going to go back to that student field value screen. I'm going to update the field entry date to 7/1/2025. So I'm going to say, hey, PowerSchool, I want you to take that entry date that was 8-4 that was stuck in provisional enrollment. I want you to update it to 7/1. I'm going to hit submit. I'm going to go back. Then I'm going to run it one more time on the exit date field. I want it to also be 7/1/2025, so I don't have an overlap with the district that actually did pull the student in. Hit submit, submit again. Go back. Now let's go back to Mike's page. So remember I had 8-4. Let's refresh the page. Okay, I've updated the dates. So I had to update the enrollment status, the dates. Okay, now the codes. I don't want that NS code. Where do I know Mike is? I know Mike is back in another district, so I don't want to leave NS because that's going to be a dropout. I want it to be the WA1, withdrawal to another district. So I'm going to one more time. Exit code on student field values, WA1. Submit. Are you sure you want to change from NS to WA1? The answer is yes. Just FYI, guys, I do have a shorter video on this process specifically for these no-shows and provisional on my YouTube channel so that you don't have to watch this whole webinar to get that. All right, let's go back here and refresh this screen. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Go back. And there we go. Now I have WA1. Now the only thing you have left is this entry code. And here is the problem. I can't update that entry code in student field values. The only person who can update that entry code back to an E is PowerSchool support. So at this point, if you have one that you withdrew out of provisional through a no-show, once you've corrected this up here, your entry exit dates and your exit code, you've got to put in a PowerSchool support ticket and ask them to update that entry code back to an E. So that then this enrollment record will look like a normal transfer out record. And guys, this is why, if at all possible, you do not want to no-show from a provisional enrollment. If you can ever avoid it, resolve those enrollments, pull them in as an active student, and then process as a transfer out so that you don't have to do all this right here. Hold on, WA1 is in district. Oh, did I do the wrong one? I sure did. I meant WB1, not WA1. Well, Which, I mean, it could have been WB1 if it was another school, in the district. So, but y'all get the idea. Thank you for calling that. So when you are doing that, that's going to be the steps for those no-shows in provisional. Now, let's see what we've talked about. We've talked about how to process the correct summer withdrawal so that you get the dates aligned, how to do a no-show, how to find kids who are hidden no-shows that might be still lingering out there that you have not no-showed, showing you how to run the reports to find those. Now, how many of you are worried that you have no-showed students from provisional this summer and didn't know that you had to do all this, and so you've got kids with a wrong enrollment status somewhere out there? There is a way to find them. If you want to see, have you inadvertently done this and didn't get it cleaned up, you can do searches on these students. Enroll status is a field that you can search from the search bar right here. So if I wanted to say, show me my kids who are in enroll status of 1, that's the inactive status that we don't want. I can type that in right there and see it's already populating me a list. So I'm going to hit enter. Oh, hang on. Because they're inactive, I got to do this. / enroll _ status equals 1. There's my list. Now when I hit enter, they're going to populate when I get rid of that right there. So make sure you use the / on them. I've got 13 kids. So these are 13 kids that I possibly no-showed from provisional and did not get cleaned up. So I would need to click on them. I would need to, and look, this is one from back in 2023. It still needs to be fixed because these kids won't be shown as moving anywhere else in AIM, and they'll be stuck in your cohort if you don't get these fixed. So you would want to, again, go through that same process. Go through the student change values to update the enrollment status, whatever dates, and get these codes corrected to whatever they should be. What did I type? Go back to the main screen. Let me zoom in on my screen a little bit. So / enroll _ status equals 1. Yes, Summer, you had a student that passed away that has an enroll status of 1. Does that need to change? Yes. There is actually a withdrawal code for a student who passes away for a death. So you would want to get that changed and get that withdrawal code updated to the correct death code. And then you want to make sure to get that enroll status out of that inactive, because even if you went through and adjusted the withdrawal code, if you leave it in that inactive status instead of a transferred out status, AIM is not going to see that correctly. What if the student was no-showed as a E90 with temporary student number from Power School enrollment? Same thing, Robert. You're going to need to get that fixed, and you're going to need to get Power School to go find that correct SSID and put it in there. Because if not, then technically we have a duplicate student across the state with 2 different SSID numbers, which we don't want to have. So as part of that Power School support ticket, not only would you want to get them to update that entry code from an E, but you'll want to get them to match back to that original SSID number from the other district. And they'll have to look in that other district to see what it is. So it looks like the only thing that we have left is, what about errors in enrollment? Like duplicates. There is, and I put it in the newsletter this week, a duplicate student search. When I type in duplicate up here at the quick search bar, there is this duplicate finder. Because how many times has this happened? You enrolled a student, it gave them an SSID number, and then you find out that they actually had already been in your system before with a different SSID number. This right here will give you a list of potential, notice I say potential, duplicates. Sometimes twins show up on here. But like, look here. I've got Angel Harry right here. These 2 Angel Harrys have 2 different SSIDs. They have the same date of birth, the same grade, the same entry date, the same exit date. Is this the same kid? Or is it I've enrolled a kid twice and they're both active and I didn't realize it? These are the ones that you're going to have to validate if they are indeed a duplicate student. And you're like, nope, those aren't twins. Now, I do know there are some kids who have the exact same name. It happens out there. But if they're not, and you realize, oops, I've enrolled a kid twice and didn't realize it, you will need to put in a Power School support ticket so they can merge those profiles together. They'll merge the data in the profiles and they'll set one to be a deprovision profile with the do not use code on it. So how did I get to this? Well, you can do one or two things. It's under data and reporting, data management, duplicate finder. You can go that path right here. Or there's two of them. I use the CR by. It gives more information. Or you can search up here. Just type in the word duplicate and you've got duplicate finder and duplicate finder CR, and that's the one that I always pick. Just because it gives you all this detailed information right here. So definitely take a look, try to find your inactive students if you have any to get corrected, find your duplicate students if you have any to get corrected, and last but not least, go find your no-shows and look for them. So let's talk about some of the reports that you might be able to pull. Data and reporting, reports, enterprise reports. We have a slew of enterprise reports that we have given districts to install that will give you all kinds of information. So see how we've got over 100 of them. I'm going to scroll down to my enrollment section because I do have a list of no-shows right here. There is a report of no-show students that I can run. Computers want to slow down. So I'm looking at the 25-26 year. These are all of my kids that have either an NS1 or an NS code. So what's the difference? NS1 is somebody you withdrew that you haven't found out where they're going yet. So Bet, I am finding Miss Fanning right here, and I'm calling mom, dad, grandma, whoever I can call to try to figure out where Miss Fanning went. Because I need to show a proper withdrawal code, not that a kid just disappeared off the face of the earth. We don't want to show that. We want to find out where they went. If it's an NS code, what does that mean? That means it's one of those inactive students that I just did over in that no-show of provisional that we need to make sure we get cleaned up. So if you don't have this report installed, talk to your district Power School person to get them to install this report for you so you can easily go find your no-show students to see who you have that you need to clean up. Because if in a perfect world, we'd want 0 right here. We want no data found when we run this report. We want every kid to be accounted for and moved appropriately in that withdrawal process. Another report that you might be interested in, let's look at student enrollment entry exit. If I go into this report, choose my year, so I'm going to look at this school year. This is going to give me my list of all of my students with their entry and exit code. So if I wanted to filter and say, show me everybody who withdrew with a WB1 or a WA1. Like there are times where I know people will use the, where are they at? The school choice transfer in state when they shouldn't be, because that should be only used in a very specific situation. People can go and look and find, who have we withdrawn with a specific exit code that maybe need to be updated. This right here is one way to really see what is in there, and you can see entry comments. And I believe, let's see, can we do exit comments? Yes, if I wanted the exit comment, I could pull that over, apply, and have that part of the report as well. Somebody had asked that earlier. Is there a way to see like all the different exit comments somebody might have put in there? Like I don't want somebody to have an NS record, but over here it says, they moved to so-and-so. We want to make sure that those realign. So if you've not looked at your enterprise reports, those are going to be really helpful in looking at and finding some of these issues with your no-shows and your withdrawals. Let's look at the chat. I know some people have been asking some questions, so let's see. I have a no-show. I've called and spoken with parents on more than one. They are homeschooling in another state, but no withdrawal sign, no homeschooling information. You don't need something side summer. If they are saying that they're homeschooling, that's all you need. You go in and you do that withdrawal out of homeschool. But put a documentation note that talk to the parent on such and such date and document it in there that they are homeschooling. Not every parent is going to come in and fill out a withdrawal form for you. Tasha, I have an EL student who was no-showed. The son more concrete or change to one of the dropout codes. I mean, if you can get something concrete about them going out of, back to the home country, then you just need to do that transfer out of country. What do we check for duplicate? We showed that. Daniel, I found one from 8-7 that is a no-show but went to a different country and is now back here and active. Put in a Power School ticket to get them to update. Yes, Daniel, they have two on those. Wendy, we have a lot of the 5-digit ones that Power School made inactive for us. What about those? Yeah, you want to get those corrected. What do I do if I have students from 2015 that are under that enrolled scholars? Alyssa, on those that are back old, like way past, I nowadays, you don't need to worry about those. If you have any where a kid is still where they would be enrolled, like still be somewhere else in another district, not at graduate age yet, you want to get those. So I would say those, within the last 5 years, if you've had any, you do want to do those, but you don't have to worry about the ones way back from like 2015. So you got that one, making sure I answered all these. What was done to cause the student to become inactive? It is from no showing them from that provisional enrollment. So again, you always want to try to resolve every provisional enrollment and then do a true transfer out to avoid having to get all that cleanup done. Why does a student that has been incarcerated count against the school, but a student that is custody of juvenile detention? Unfortunately, I can't answer that question. I don't make those rules. That's going to be over in student services and in instructional services for cohort questions. I know juvenile detentions are STC centers, which provide educational services, and that's kind of a different classification than going to an incarceration center that does not provide educational services. That's kind of what it all boils down to. Will the invalid enrollment report work when it's across LEA enrollment error? No, Carla, it was not able. It doesn't read into those. But we do have some cross enrollment reports that you can get from within here. How did I run that no-show report again? So I go to data and reporting. Oh, my 1 hour mark hit. So sorry, guys. WebEx does not like me, and at 1 hour, it kicks me off. So Wanda had asked, how do you run that no-show report again? So I go to data and reporting, reports, and it's in enterprise reports. And if y'all have not found yourself into the world of enterprise reports, literally you should, because it will answer all of your life's questions about Power School. Like, how do I find this on a kid? Everything can be found through enterprise reports. So when I go to enterprise reports, your district has control over installing these. We have built all of these reports for all the districts, and depending on who they've installed them for, you may see them, you may not. But there's a whole slew of enrollment reports, in-district transfers, FTE year mismatches, enrollment comparisons, homeless reports, non-public student transfer, all these things that you can check on kids. How many kids are marked out of district that might need a mismatch on? Students who are new to your district, students with no remote classes, transfers out, all kind of information. If I want to look at all my transferred out kids, I can look at them right here and see, look, we even give you some graphs on some so you can see, I've had one kid who was in system public, and then I've had 5 kids who were in state public. Here they all are. Here's all the information on them. So these are going to be the reports that are going to help you. All right, any other questions on your no-shows and withdrawals? I got 2 big things I want you to take away. Check your summer withdrawal dates and make sure they have the same entry exit date. Look for your no-shows. Please, please print out a list of all your kids who are active and make sure that you have identified those kids are actually coming to school, their butts are in a seat, they've been taking classes. If not, they need to be withdrawn out. Most definitely need to be withdrawn out. Somebody did ask a question, how is it that they're withdrawn out but they can still remain in a roster? Remember that when you withdraw a student, it does not drop them from your classes. So they absolutely can still be in a class and not be enrolled, which is crazy as it sounds, it can happen. So you've got to make sure that when you're doing your withdrawal of kids that you drop those classes, or else they will continue to be in there and your teachers are going to continue to be marking them absent each day. Is school enrollment audit and section enrollment under enterprise? No, those are built-in system reports from PowerSchool. So you're going to go to reports, system reports, and they are up under an area, up under all my health stuff. This membership and enrollment area, they're right here. School enrollment audit, section enrollment audit. Which do you use again for duplicate finder? For duplicate finder, I do it, this duplicate finder CR by. That's the one that I use. And I'll also say, for those of you who do not have the student information system data calendar, like how many new people do I have on here? I'm gonna put this in the chat because I also give links to all of these, like right here. Here's how you find your duplicate finder. Like this gives you all the directions. CR by. Links on how to do all of this. Should we correct the dates of students for previous years before arriving to the feeder school and ballot enrollment? Yes, Donna, I would, especially for overlaps. Amanda, what if DHR properly fills out a withdrawal form but would not tell us where they're going, or did not at the time we've reached back out to DHR and checked the locator and still do not know where the student went? Reach out to Dr. Kay Warfield and Shanitra Dees in Instructional Services, because they'll assist with what to do in those kind of withdrawal cases to let you know how to get the right codes on them in those situations. Chastity, I have access to install enterprise reports. I know where the list of reports is, but if possible, I would like a list of which category you would suggest listing. Chastity, it's really up to you as a district and how y'all like to categorize those together. If you want to get on a call one-on-one sometime and just kind of talk through some options, I'll be happy to do that with you. But ultimately, it's y'all's call on how you would like to install that, because you can assign security to those reports under each one of those groups. So it just depends. It varies district to district. Zach, when I try to run the invalid enrollment date PSCB reports, it gives me an error saying the page requested can't be found. That means you don't have the plugin installed. So Zach, if you'll just get your district PowerSchool person to send me an email, I can give them that validation set of reports to install for you. Yeah, anytime you get that page not found on server, that's exactly what it means. Yes, Kelly, I will be sharing this video. So after we stop the recording, it'll take about an hour or so to render. So I hope to get it out to you by the end of the day today, because I'm leaving in the morning to go on an anniversary trip and we'll be out of the office until after Labor Day. So I hope to get all this to y'all today so that y'all can go back and review it. When running a list using the command enroll status, I get an exit code of W. How do I fix that properly? In that case, you just need to update that enrollment status, Dorothy, on that student. Oh, thank y'all. Oh, thank y'all. Yes. Y'all can thank my husband for putting up with me for 29 years this year. Any other questions that y'all have on this? Do y'all find this helpful? Does kind of like kick off some memories of some things? I am going to email this out to everyone. I'm also going to put it on our Google site. Y'all know that we've got the Alabama PowerSchool Edition website, so we've got the enrollment page. I will update the video that we have under the no-show area here, just so that you see this most current version of it, of how to do it and how the things that you need to check. And it sees everything in the new UI. And y'all know if y'all have any questions, because sometimes you're going to get these, onesie twosie situations where things will come across and it's different from every other kid. Reach out to me, PowerSchool coaches. We are absolutely here to help y'all. We'll be here for the rest of the time. And hopefully everybody got my email yesterday about the whole Back to Basic webinar series, where we're going to go, just take our time and go back through learning everything about this program since we started 5 years ago. So for everybody who's new, who never knew why attendance worked the way it did or discipline works the way it is, we'll take our time, go back through it, refresh it so that we can get y'all confident and help you kind of figure out why things work the way that they do. Brian, just a word to double check the exit codes. In reviewing mine, I see some things that gave me pause. Siblings with different exit codes, just a heads up. Yeah, that's things to look at. Like that might be an anomaly where somebody had just a bad data entry in there. If you see two siblings. Oh, and somebody had asked, is there a sibling report in here? And yes, there actually is. Let me show this real quick. If I go to PSCB reports, there is, under this miscellaneous, there's a siblings list. I love this report for a couple of reasons. There is a way to group people by phone number or address. So like if I want to see all of the kids who have the same home address, group family per row, again, PSCB, miscellaneous, it'll show me. So right now I've got 35 kids connected to just a blank home address. I've got one kid here. I can even do this. Show me everywhere where I have greater than 4 kids connected to an address. And look what it'll show me. I've got 6 kids all connected here. So you can use this siblings list. It'll do it by address. Your CMP people love this to check extended eligibility and stuff like that. So that is on PSCB. I'll show you one more time. Data reporting, PSCB, and it's under this miscellaneous set of reports. It's called the siblings list. There's also an age list, a birthday list, mailing list, student alert list. There's some really cool ones under that one. Yay, Chastity! I'm glad that you're excited about this. Yeah, there's so much about Power School. I mean, there's something new every day. I even still learn it here. We have a student no-showed in provisional last January that was coming from New York, but parents decided not to enroll. Student still has a 5-digit number, but there's not an Alabama state number to update, never attended. That is the like rare case where yes, you will leave it as that 5-digit number and not do anything with it, Shelly. Okay, so if the error for the siblings list says page not found, you need the plug-in, shoot me an email, okay, and I'll send it to you. Yes, Amanda, will you shoot me an email and then I will send you that. I will forward that email I sent out to you. It'll also be in the newsletter. So for those of you who get my newsletter, you'll see them all on there on Monday. We start that series next week. Next Thursday, we're going to start tackling attendance. I'm so glad y'all found this helpful. Yeah, if y'all have any questions that come up, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.